Islam. Today I want to do a brief demonstration on Moors and Masonry. The connection between Moors and Masonry. A lot of us are confused about who the Moors are and who the Masons are. A lot of us are confused about what our nationality is, what Masonry actually is. So we're going to try to here today clear up some of that confusion. The misconceptions of what Moors are, the misconception of what Masons are. When you get to the end of this class, you're going to see that Moors and Masons are synonymous when you learn the true meaning of what those two identities are. The reason why I say identity is because Moor is an identity and Mason is an identity as well. But they're both one and the same. When we get to the end of the class, you're going to see the connection between Moors and Masons. A lot of us have misconceptions about foreigners who have been practicing Masonry. When I say foreigners, I'm talking about Europeans, white people, if you want to call them that, which is a misnomer as well. Prior to them calling themselves white people, they refer to themselves as the red men. And that's a whole other science from the highest degrees of Masonry, which we're going to get into today as well. Now, a lot of us have misconceptions about Masonry because we see Europeans practicing it in long government. We see Europeans, dealing with all of our ancient rituals, all of our ancient sciences, and then they'll try to represent those sciences back to us as though it's something devil worshiping in nature. When you're dealing with Masonry, there is no devil and there is no God. You deal with mathematics and science when you're dealing with Masonry, which is the science of the ancient Moors. This is where the connection comes in. Now, let me put this up on the board. Let me put Moors here. And Masonry here. Now, what is Moors? Moors are, the descendants of the ancient Moabites, or Moroccans. Why are we Moorish American? Because we are descendants of the ancient, we are descendants of Moroccans and born here in America. That's what makes you a Moorish American. You're an American straight up. You have to specify what your descent is. Your descent is Moorish, not black, not African, not Negro, not colored, etc. When you start identifying yourself as such, then you fall under a completely different classification. Now, what I want to clear up with what Moors is, because some people think Moors is a belief system. Some people think Moors is a religion in the modern connotation of the word religion. Moors, Moorish is your descent name. Not African, not black, not Negro, not colored, not African American. Let's just go back into legal lawful history. First, they started calling you Negro, right? In 1492. Then after 1492, they started calling you coloreds. Then after they started calling you coloreds, in the early 1960s, 1940s, they started calling you black, which black and Negro are synonymous. They mean the same thing. The only difference in between black and Negro is the language. Negro is how it's actually pronounced, which means black in Spanish. So somebody says, yeah, I'm the black man, but I ain't no Negro, you just lost. For one, black is the English interpretation of the word Negro. Negro is not an English word. It's a Spanish word, which comes from the Moorish Latin word negro. Negro means death. So when you hear Prophet Noble Drew Ali give you the keys that black, according to science, means death, he's dealing with the etymological science of what the word means. Now, you can run around and say, yeah, what up, nigga, all day you want. That's fine. There's a spiritual meaning behind why you say that. When you get into the Naga Asiatics, the serpent people, as they call it, the people who were able to raise what's called the Kundalini energy from the base of the spine to the top of the cranium, thus making you illuminated. That's a whole nother science. And this is all, it's not even a whole nother science. This is the science of Masonry, which we're going to get to in a second. But let's just clear up who Moors are. Moors are the mothers and fathers of civilization. The sons of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Almoravids, Saracens, etc. These are the Moors. When you start digging back into history, worldwide history, you will find Moors under various different jurisdictional names, like Almoravid, Saracen, Muslim, Mohammedan. These are all Moors. You ain't gonna find nowhere in history that these were all black people, that these were all colored folks, that these were all Negroes or Negro, which is actually the correct way to pronounce it. It's a Spanish word, Negro. You ain't gonna find that in history. Now, when you dig into history and start seeing various different nationalities take place in history, what's gonna happen is you're gonna see various names like Saracen, Almoravid, Mohammedan, and you're gonna think it has nothing to do with you because you've been thinking all your life that you was the black man, black people, black power. We all come from Africa. We don't even want to focus on the same culture that's right here. And in fact, if you really want to dig deep into history, and this is also part of Masonry, of the European order, civilization began here first. Now let's just dig back into history, as the European will tell you, if he decides to. He ain't gonna tell you this in school. He'll put it out there in a whole lot of books. You just gotta dig for it. Let's just get back into his history. Now, he honors the Greeks. Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. These are all, they give honors to all of these Greeks as the founders of, certain sciences that are taught in the European educational curriculum this day. He doesn't tell you where Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato got their knowledge from directly. He'll tell it to you. He'll make books and put them out there. He know we don't read, so it really don't matter. He'll let you know though, in his literature, where they got their information from. He even let you know that in the Bible. They got their information from Hikupta, which is ancient Egypt or Kemet. This is where Socrates, Plato, Aristotle came to learn from. They came to learn from Egypt. This civilization was up and running prior to Greek civilization and Roman civilization. This is actually where Greek and Roman civilization came from, directly. This is where they learned the science of Masonry. Now, when our people were in Hikupta, we were Moors. So let's not get this whole Moors thing confused with some religion, some belief system. And I like to highlight the word or the term belief system because belief system is what most people deal with today under the guise of religion. And the reason why I say under the guise of religion is because in the connotative word or the connotative meaning of the word religion, you're bowing down and worshiping something. In the denotative meaning of the word religion, that's the study of the stars. let's bring this back. We're dealing with the denotative meaning of the word religion. Let's just step there for a second. That means we're dealing with the organic term of what Moor is, what Moors mean, who the Moors were before they started calling us Negroes, colors, blacks, and Ethiopians, etc. So now we're in a denotative mind state. In the denotative mind state, we also had a denotative religion, which was the study of the stars. So brothers ask me, what's the connection between Moors and Masons? I don't get it. We don't understand this in the lodge. The denotative religion is the study of the stars. Masonry, this day, is the study of the stars. Where did they get the science of studying the stars? Studying astrology, fixed constellations, and how it has an effect on the human body, as well as what takes place in various different geographical regions of the earth. Where did they get this science from? Now, when I say they, I'm talking about European Masons, because we are the true Masons. They are sons of true Masonry, which we're going to get into shortly. They learned this from the Moors. You got to keep in mind that these Europeans who practice Freemasonry have not been on this globe that long. We have megalithic structures. We have complexes. Of course, you know we have the Great Pyramids in Giza, as well as the Great Pyramids in Central America. They don't even like to tell you nothing about it. They want you to think that your whole civilization came from Africa, when it really started over here, and then went there. They don't want to get into any of that. We have all these things in place by way of the science of Masonry, which is the mother-son principle, which is mathematics, and how the universe actually works. We was doing all of this before any European walked the face of this earth. This is why they'll relate this back to you and say that we don't understand how they built this. This is before our technology. We already had technology. The thing is, in European orders of Freemasonry, they try to conceal your science. They try to conceal your technology, represent it back to you like they created it, when they did not. They can't, till this day, build any of the megalithic structures with all of the technology that they have now. What we was doing is while we were so-called primitive. Come on. That's a lie. That's a misnomer. We don't know about the Dogon. Who is the Dogon? This so-called primitive savage, as they will relate it back to you, primitive savage tribe from West Africa in Mali had advanced knowledge about the Sirius star system. And for those of us who don't know what the Sirius star system is, you have Sirius A, B, and C. It is a whole star system. It's another sun with 2 planets which orbited 50 years at a time. The Dogon, this so-called savage tribe from Mali, West Africa, where the Moabites had, they're Moors. They're Moors. They knew advanced science about the Sirius star system before a European made a telescope that could see that far. And then when the European, they told him what was out there. When the European finally made a telescope that could see that far and seen Sirius B come around that orbit, they came back and asked them, how did you know this? We thought you was a savage tribe of people. They said, this is where we come from. Why they don't teach us that in history school? Why they don't teach us that in the first 3 degrees of Masonry in the European order? You come into the Moorish Science Temple or come into the Moorish Rite, you get these degrees initially. You may not even realize you got them, but you get them initially. Now, when you go to the European order of Freemasonry, you get hood with a lot. You learn a couple new guards, passwords, grips. But you don't know what it is. You don't even care. You just know I'm a Mason now. Now I get some benefits. Now I can get a job in Arizona if I gotta move out here. So that's all that matters. Don't know any of the wisdom associated with it. Now, us as Moors, it's important for us to be able to display these degrees of knowledge to all people. So this is what the connection of Moors and Masons is. Brother, this is what he asked. He said, I'm trying to figure out what's the connection between Moors and Masons. All right, so we just went over who the Moors were. The Moors is us, those falsely identified as blacks, Negroes, colors, etc. We are the mothers and fathers of civilization. That's what Moors are. We never called ourselves blacks, Negroes, and colors. The Europeans, about 200 years ago, started calling us that. When in 1492, Negro. When Christopher Columbus landed on the island of Hispaniola and started enslaving the indigenous people there that we think are Spanish people or Indians, which they are not. They were Moors. They had nationality as well. These are the Moors. You'll find the Moors all over the globe. Those misidentified as being African Americans, Latinos, I'm Cuban. I mean, don't get me wrong. Cuba, Colombia, Mexico, these are actual nations. Don't get me wrong, but they are still of Moorish descent. And a lot of these nations adopted those names after the Spanish people came and conquered that land. So a lot of those names are misnomers. We were all Moors of the Moroccan Empire. The land that we're standing on now, northwest of Mexico, or the North Gate, is called Al-Marak. This is where America gets its name from. Al-Marak means descended from Morocco. Al means descended from Morocco. Morocco is the Moroccan Empire, not Morocco, the capital, the kingdom of this day, and which is in West Africa. Moroccan Empire spanned from Northwest, Southeast Africa, all the way across the Great Atlantic, from Alaska down to Argentina. This is the Moroccan Empire. This is who the Moors was educated. The Moors was educating the Europeans by way of the Moroccan Empire. We educated the Europeans through Spain. When we conquered Spain in 711 AD, we educated the Europeans once again during the First Crusade. We're going to get into that too. We educated the Europeans then again when they hit these shores in North America. When they hit these shores in North America as colonists, we gave them the science of law and government when they established their independence from Great Britain. Washington, D.C. is 10 square miles. And if you look at the layout of the streets, there is a star in the center. Conspiracy theorists will try to tell you that the star in the center is the star of the devil. Nah, that's your Al-Moroccan flag. A square with a 5-pointed star in the center. Your Moorish flag. That design in Washington, D.C. was laid out by Benjamin Banneker, a.k.a. Emmanuel Muali Ben Bey. His fez is right in Washington, D.C. Alexandria, Virginia, in George Washington Masonic Museum. If you go there, you ain't gonna see it unless you come correct. You have to come with a script, and they'll let you see it. It used to be on display for the general public. But then as us Moors had begun to wake up and come into this knowledge that are going to the George Washington Masonic Museum, they started taking things right up out of there, and that's one of them. You can't go into the grotto. If you come correct, they'll let you right up in there. And you can see Ben Bey's fez. Not only will you see Ben Bay's fez, you'll see fezes that say Al Morocco on them. You'll see fezes that say Il Bay on them. Remember, these are titles of the Moors. Il, of the ancient Yehudi, Bay, of Islamic. Islamic and Yehudi, which is so-called Jewish, are no different. They're the same signs. It's just different languages. That's the only difference. Same signs. They play these religious games to try to throw you off of your culture. You'll see this on fezes if you can get up into the grotto room. Not only that, you see all types of things. You see Al Masai on there, which is the Messiah. You'll see Mecca. You'll see Medina. These are all territories that belong to the Moors. This is the connection between Moors and Masons. Now, you know who the ancient Moors are. Ancient Moors are all of those of us who claim that we are blacks, Negroes, and colors. But prior to European conquest and imposition, we identified ourselves as Moors, Moorish. There's even certain movies that point these things out. A Black Knight with Martin Lawrence. They don't call him, the movie is called Black Knight, but those Europeans in England did not call him black. They call him Moor. He said, silence Moor. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, point some of these things out as well. You had Morgan Freeman. His name was Azim in the movie. He wasn't Azim the black man. He was Azim the Moor, the Mohammedan, or the Saracen. He was the Moor. And then they identify the Europeans as the Christian. Not as white people. You see the games they play? They play these games to take you out of your true status. Your true status is Moorish. You are the true indigenous Americans. They are not. They're colonists. They come from various different nations in Europe. We are indigenous to Europe as well. This is why Prophet Noble through our lead identifies them as the pale-skinned nations of Europe and not Europeans. Because they're not. We are indigenous to the planet. We was here. We was in the coldest parts of the climate. We had to take them there after grafting them out of us. We had to drag them up into Europe just so they can survive. Now, we talking about pale-skinned nations of Europe from 6,000 years ago. They have been absorbing and intermixing with us, grabbing some of that melanin into their bloodline. So by them doing that, they have been able to, be able to deal with certain portions of the sun. And even still, the Europeans today, some of them can't deal with certain portions of the sun. Some of them get melanoma, skin cancer, things like that. Just imagine a European freshly created 6,000 years ago. He can't survive near that equator where he was made. He had to be drugged. This is also a science of masonry. When they sit there and tell you, Shriner, this is a high degree of masonry. Shriner, ask you, how did you ride? Or how did you travel across the hot burning desert? Did you ride or did you walk? That's a high degree. What that means is that us, after we grafted through experimentation, a whole nother species that we call white man, that we call European, which look nothing like the ones you see now. I'm talking blonde hair, blue eyes, can't stand sunlight. 6,000 years ago. They would mix it in with melanated beings and obtain the melanin, so the melanin is what keeps you protected from the ultraviolet rays of the sun. Now, when we drugged them, we rode on camels. We drugged them across that hot Arabian desert. into the caves of West Asia, as they now call it Europe. We drugged them there. We rode. So if a Shriner asks you, how did you travel across the hot Arabian desert? You tell him you rode if you're a melanated being. You don't tell him you walked. Because it was the Europeans who had to take that walk. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad puts this degree right out there in Supreme Wisdom. Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1. Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1, the 4th degree. He puts that history out there in detail. And when I first came into that science, I thought this was nonsense. Because they all been poisoned by all types of, I just had this whole paradigm that was not in conjunction with what really takes place. And boy, all of us have. We all, grow up. Our mother teach us this, our father teach us that, if we're lucky. And then we just grow up with this whole paradigm that's based and rooted on TV. They set it up when we go to their educational school curriculum. They set it up there. When we get out of there, for one, we don't remember nothing they taught us. And then we start watching TV and everything on the media, start listening to songs and watching movies and stuff like that. And then this is what shapes our paradigm. The paradigm is how someone looks at the world. That's someone's outlook on the world. This is what a paradigm is. And so our outlook on the world will be that of mainly what we see on TV. So when we see these certain movies, certain shows on TV, we automatically just shut down anything like that. Anything like, we drugged we created a European, we went from black to brown, from brown to yellow, then from yellow to white, and then created a European. Oh, nah, that can't be possible. I've been watching Bill Cosby for the last 10 years. That ain't gonna work. I've been watching A Different World too. Nah, that don't happen in A Different World. They in college. Plus, this guy, he went to college and graduated. He got taught by professors. Professors. You went through degrees of masonry when you went to college and didn't even know it. When you went to grade school, you went through degrees of masonry and you didn't even know it because you don't know what masonry is. You go through masonry is also astrology.
Straight from Brooklyn, better known as Brooklyn. Never taking shorts because Brooklyn's the borough.
Keep that in mind. These are principles that came from the ancient Moors. Let's just say black people, some people like to understand that word. The niggas. Masonry is also astrology. In astrology, you have 12 principal energies, which are known to be 12 signs of the zodiac. Right? When you go to grade school, from 1 through 12, you're going through astrology. You're going through 12 signs of the zodiac. You go through 12 signs, you graduate in 12th grade, and then what? You get a fit. With a tassel on it. You rock a square. 360-degree square with a tassel on it. And then you also have a robe on it, which is a Masonic robe. What? Yeah? Nah, I don't believe in Masonry. That's devil worship, some people might say. When you graduate from college or high school, did you have that fez on, that square with that tassel on it, and throw it up in the air with that gown on, that robe? These are all things that take place in the Masonic lodge while performing their ritual. What you would call that devil worship. You say, oh, that's Go on further. You go through 4 years of college, right? You go through 4 years of college, which is the 4 cardinal points, which you'll see on the Circle 7. Which is your 4 seasons, which makes up a year. 360 This thing just got put together from some Europeans that said, oh, we need to make school up. No, this was established by the Moors. The Europeans got this from the Moors of Spain. The Moors ruled Spain from 711 AD to 1492 AD. And when I say rule, I don't mean by iron hand oppression rule. They ruled Spain in the sense of bringing light to Europe. Because you had a whole bunch of savages running around Europe. You had a whole bunch of beasts running around Europe. Right? I'm going to get right back to that. Let's just break this masonry thing down. We already know who the Moors are, right? You know the Moors are ancient black people, as we like to call them. Some people more familiar with that word. And then we also got to keep in mind that the Moors are not, a lot of us think they're black people, because we want to call it that, come from Africa. We were all over the globe. We were in the whole place.
Never taking shorts, cause Brooklyn's the borough. Never taking shorts, cause Brooklyn's the borough. Never taking shorts, cause Brooklyn's the borough.
In the northern hemisphere, it's up past Alaska. It's all cold up here. It's freezing up there. Canada, there's Moors in Canada. Why do you think that the so-called runaway slaves was fleeing to Canada? What was the reason? They had brothers and sisters up there already. This was a part of the Moorish Empire, the Moroccan Empire that has not yet been conquered. These are the keys of history that they leave out. Now, in European Freemasonry, oh, they know this. In the higher degrees of Freemasonry, we ain't talking about the first heaven understanding of Masonic degrees, right? So now we know who the Moors are. The Moors are the indigenous people of the planet. So-called black people. I'm saying so-called because we're not that. The niggas, if you want to say that. You know who the Moors are. Now, who are the Masons? Or what is Masonry, period? Now, Mason is my son, mother, and son. That is an ancient principle of the Moors. See, we know, the only thing we know these days is patriarchal society. When I say patriarchal society, we think that the male is supposed to run the world. We think that every single deity is supposed to be a male. He, the great he. Male dominated. We need a male president. We need a male king. We need male rulers. This is something that is recent in history. Because prior to that, we dealt with a matriarchal society. In the matriarchal society is the mother producing sons. The mother is the empress. The mother is the ruler. This is what the fez represents and the turban represents. The fez represents the womb of the mother. Now look, we have a science called knowledge, wisdom, and understanding by way of the nation of gods and earth. Right? Knowledge being man and the sun, wisdom being woman, and understanding being child and star. Now, if you dig back, that's correct science. The way that society is rolling now, that's correct. But now you have to dig back as to where did the sun come from? The sun did not make the universe. The universe is what produces suns. And the universe has 4 distinct elements: earth, air, fire, and water. The fire element would be a manifestation of the sun. So now, this is where your mother-son or maid-son principle comes from. when you get deep into the esoteric science of what the degrees actually mean. My son, mother, son. That means you're dealing with the principles of the universe, the principles of creation, the mother of creation, Mother Nature as they call it. The mother is who creates all things in existence, and the reason why we call her in Masonry, or in Masonry we say, I'm the son of the widow, right? Why are you a son of the widow? Because nobody knows the origin of where the mother came from, yet everyone came from the mother. Everyone has a belly button. The woman has the capabilities to produce male and female. Male does not have the capabilities to do that. The mother builds these things within those 9 months in her womb, which is a Masonic code. And a lot of various different things. You will see 9, 9. That's all in conjunction with the creation of life in the womb of the mother. Coming right up out of your fez. A lot of us wear fez and still deal with patriarchal principles. We think, oh, she can't wear no fez. She is the fez. How you gonna tell her? She should tell you you can't wear no fez. You should have to prove to her that you have to wear it. The fez is a representation of her. The Mason principle, the mother-son principle. If you dig into religion, in the modern connotation of the word, the modern religion, right? You dig into the origins of where they came from. They came from goddess worship, as the Europeans say. But we didn't worship nothing. We gave honors to the feminine aspect of creation. Yes, that we did. But we didn't bow down and worship anything. Now, Christianity, mother-son principle. Let's go back to Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. So-called Jesus, so-called Joseph, and so-called Mary. That's the mother-son principle. That comes directly from Osiris, Isis, and Horus out of ancient Egypt. Ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt. Comes directly from that story. And it goes back even further. Go to Babylonian civilization, then you have Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. You'll find the same story right there, the mother-son principle. Now let's just step into the Islamic realm, which is all Islamic, which hopefully we can clear that up too as well. It's all Islamic. But, you know, what's generally accepted as being Islamic. Let's step into that realm. Allah comes from the goddess. Before people was honoring Allah as being the one God, they was honoring the goddess Alat. The goddess. This is what Masonry is. It's the mother-son principle. It's the principle of the feminine energy, which embraces all of these sciences. Does that belong to a European? Absolutely not. These things were put in place before a European had walked the earth. See, the European has took our science and started using it against us, and so now we fear the European, and we fear Masonry, and we think that European or Masonry has nothing to do with us. This is a European devil science. Far from the truth. If it's a devil science, why is he wearing your Great Seal Pyramid? Your square and compass. You got brothers that see me with a square and compass on them, like, oh, that's that. Some of them will say, some of them know the sign. How am I 10%? In the degree says 10% are rich slave makers of the poor, who teach the poor lies. Because the almighty true and living God is a swoop in the sky and can't be seen with the physical eye. When have you ever told me, or when have I ever told you that the almighty true and living God is a spook in the sky? That don't make me no 10%. Or when have a Mason ever told you that besides a pastor or preacher? Yeah, they pastors and preachers, they Masons too. They qualify as 10% of the population when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put that out there. Don't look at me like that. I know mathematics. I can tell you more about your degrees than you know, because if you knew these degrees, if you knew what those degrees meant, you wouldn't even say that to me when I got square thumbs on. I can show you in the degrees where Masonry is straight up Islamic. I can show you in 2 degrees in particular. The 9th degree and the 114, where it says that we gave them this science so they can clean themselves up and come amongst us. He must study 35 to 50 years before he can call himself a Muslim son. A Muslim son, and wear the greatest and only flag known to the universe, which is the crescent moon and star, but he must put a sword above it. The reason why he has to put a sword above it is so that he can't just run back to the rest of them savage Europeans and start teaching them these principles. They were savages. They were barbaric. We couldn't just give this, we had to select a few of them and give them this information. We couldn't just allow them to run rapid with it. They were dealing with a bunch of barbarians in society. We elected some of them and entrusted them with certain degrees of information. Now, from that is where you get your European orders of Freemasonry. Now, let's get into the true history of where Scottish Rite Freemasonry comes from, York Rite Freemasonry comes from, Prince Hall Freemasonry comes from, and its connection to Moors. We already know who the Moors are, right? We know the Moors were all over the globe. We got the megalithic structures all over the globe, even in Europe. We got Stonehenge, which is lined up with the solstices and the equinoxes. This is the science of Masonry, right? Know that. Now let's get into a little history. Various different time periods we have given Europeans a body of knowledge, right? 325 AD is the establishment of Christianity. You go to chapter 46 in the Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science. Prophet Noble says that Christianity was created in Rome. This is when Christianity was created, 325 AD, by way of Emperor Constantine. Emperor Constantine and the Council of Nicaea. Nicene Council. This is what created Christianity. Now, prior to 325 AD, you had various different schools of thought, cults, as they call them, which is not, this ain't nothing devil worshiping in nature. Some people run when they hear that word, but you'll still say my culture is this. That's where culture comes from. Cult or occult just means hidden. Just means something that has an esoteric meaning, a hidden meaning. Something that you ain't gonna get directly on its face. You have to dig deep into your mental capacity and find out what's going on. I mean, can't nobody walk you through how to live life. You have to, certain things you have to dig for yourself. But you have various different solar, lunar cults, or solar, lunar schools of thought, solar, lunar truths. Keep in mind, this is all Masonry here. This is the science of Freemasonry. This is when you deal with the higher degrees of Freemasonry, these are the things that you learn. The principles that was being dealt with in these particular schools of thought. You have your Isis cult, you have your cult of Dionysus, your cult of Mithra, etc. Now, these cults, schools of thought, is what Emperor Constantine outlawed when he established Christianity. What he did was he took various different attributes from all of these cults, mainly the cult of Mithra, and then created this mythical figure named Jesus. You'll find the same story of Jesus that you will find with Mithra. As far as turning water to wine and walking across water and feeding multitudes with 5 loaves of bread or however it go. You'll find that same story not just in the cult of Mithra, but you'll find that same story in Central America. The reason why is because Jesus is a code name. It's a Masonic code name, which means justice, but it also means the Son. Jesus is a representation of the Son. His 12 disciples, or 12 apostles, are a representation of the 12 signs of the zodiac, as the same as the 12 tribes of Israel from Jacob. This is all a representation of the 12 signs of the zodiac. When you get into this book that we call the Bible, you gotta know and understand. Before it was called the Bible, it was called Bibliotext, which means sun book. So of course you're gonna see astrological sciences in that book if you know how to look for them. Keep in mind, this is all Masonry. This was generally accepted at the time by the population. People knew this at the time. 325 AD, during the establishment of Christianity, Emperor Constantine put all of these attributes into a so-called religion called Christianity and outlawed everything falling under that. In other words, what he did, he just straight up dumbed down the people. He made it so that you can't study none of this. And if you did, if you got to any mathematics or anything dealing with this, that was punishable by death. Consequently, this is what brought Europe into the Dark Ages. Right? The Dark Ages, you had kings that couldn't even read and write. Because these things were punishable by death. You couldn't study these things. You couldn't. If the papacy says that the earth is flat, and you somehow discover gravity by being around one of the Moors, they would murder you. They would kill you. These things were punishable by death, just by you speaking against what was laid out by Emperor Constantine, by the Roman Catholic Church. This is the Roman Catholic Church, know that. Who also launched multiple inquisitions on Masonry, which is Moorish science. We need to keep in mind that Masonry and Moorish science are synonymous. They're the same thing. This is a science that came from the Moors, Masonry. Now, this brought Europe into the Dark Ages, right? Europe didn't start receiving light again until the Moors came and conquered about 400 years later, 711 AD. Yeah, King Letizia, passed on. Then you also had Roderick, who seized the throne when the throne was supposed to go to King Letizia. Roderick was a tyrant. This is happening in Spain here. Roderick was a tyrant. So, the people in Spain was already, in a state of turmoil. They was like, we not feeling it. So when the Moors came in, the people themselves welcomed the Moors right in. And it didn't take nothing for them to come. Took it right over. And when they took it over, they brought light there. They brought agriculture there. They brought arithmetics, algebra, the square and the compass. They brought this there. These are the things that they brought directly from North Africa. The Moors brought all these sciences right to Spain. They brought the square and the compass there. So we want to know the connection of Moors and Masonry. This is where the modern form of European Masonry get their science from. And it goes deeper. We're going to continue on. It goes a little more deep. Now, 711 AD to 1492, the Moors ruled Spain. You still had your Christian portions of Spain. You still had your Christian portions, and remember when I say Christian, I'm not talking about no belief system. I'm talking about nations. The Europeans were identified as Christians in these days and times. So when I say Christian, I'm not talking about you going to the church and saying, praise Jesus. That's not what I'm talking about. During these days and times, Christians were the pale skins, the so-called white people. Moors were the so-called black people, were the Mohammedans, were the Saracens, the Almoravids, the Carthaginians, however you say it, Khazars. You understand? These were the Moors. Now, in 1099 AD, right? The first crusade was launched. This was, now mind you, this was the establishment of a order, two orders. One called Priory of Sion. Frenchmen. Some of them Moors too. Priory of Sion. This means of, by the way. Nice temple. Nice temple was the military home. Priory of Sion, they were more like the politicians. First crusade was launched 1099 AD against Temple Mount of Jerusalem. 1099 AD. They sacked what's known as Temple Mount. This is also identified in Masonry as Solomon's Temple. They sacked Temple Mount, right? Temple Mount, who was ruling Jerusalem at that time? When they sacked it, who did they take this from, in other words? This is the question you need to ask yourself if you're coming under the degrees of European Freemasonry. Because this is the origin, I'm about to give you the origin of European Freemasonry. When they sacked Temple Mount, who was there? Three names I can give you, and they're all the same. Muslims. And I ain't talking about no Arabs. Saracen, Moors. That's who they sacked Temple Mount from. That's who ran Temple Mount. Also, one more name, I forgot about this one. Oh, two more names. Assassins and Sufi. These are all Moors. When they sat there in Temple Mount, a lot of them did a lot of intermingling. Because these, you got to keep in mind, they was brainwashed Christians when they went in and sacked Temple Mount. When they sat there, the legend goes that they excavated beneath Temple Mount for 9 years, a Masonic code as well. And they was reborn under the studies of the Sufis, the Assassins, the Muslims, the Saracens, the Moors. After they learned the science of sacred geometry, they came back to Europe and was deemed untouchable by the Pope. Pope is the head authority. It was labeled untouchable, but nobody touched it. And they came back and started building multiple cathedrals, utilizing sacred geometry, utilizing the mother-son principle, which is why you'll see in their doorway entrances an arc with multiple ripples on it. which is a coochie, the womb. This is the mother-son principle that we taught them. The same thing that you will see in all Islamic communities, all Moorish communities, the same architecture that was laid out in Spain. They came back to Europe and started building castles and cathedrals in the same manner. So we wonder, what's the connection between Moors and Masons? There it is, 1099 AD. They came and sacked Temple Mount from the Moors. When they came back to Europe, this is a prime example of what they learned from the Moors, and the things that they did learn, they became deemed untouchable by anybody, only answerable to the Pope. They started establishing banking systems and everything. They started establishing checking systems in the ancient time, with having a checking system, which is a science that they got from the Sufis, called it Notre Dame. These are the principles they learned. They learned how to utilize the square and the compass. They learned about the Sirius star system. And when they came back and started dealing with the Sirius star system, which is your inverted pentagram, which the Europeans will try to tell you is satanic, Baphomet. That's really the Sirius star system, or Muhammad. When you're dealing with Masonry, keep this in mind, that there is no gods and no devils in Masonry. It's just mathematics and science. So even if you got Masonic organizations that be dealing with sacrifices and things like that, that even still is scientific. I don't recommend it because, for one, you melanated, you don't have to do that. I don't recommend any of that. But even that is scientific. Everything is scientific. There's no such thing as, oh, this guy's bowing down and worshiping Baal, the devil. No, all these energies come from within yourself and in the cosmos. In Masonry, we have a science, or in life, period, called as above, so below. In other words, everything that's going on in your body, this is what we call the star David, which is a misnomer. The hex alpha, the 6-pointed star, that represents a pyramid. One going up, one coming down. As above, so below. What's going on in the cosmos is the same thing that's going on in the human body. You magnify the human body, you'll see a solar system. Protons, electrons, and neutrons is what a solar system is. As above, so below. These are the various different sciences that these Knights Templar learned when they came back from sacking Jerusalem. And consequently, they just started blowing up. It was all over Europe. They had regencies all over Europe. They got so big, they started having kings and dead. Consequently, King Philip le Bel of France and Pope Clement II, I believe it's the second, came together and said, we got to get rid of them. So what the Pope did was he issued out an edict saying that this is only to be opened up at a certain hour in all different multiple regencies of France, right? Now, when that order was opened up by the authorities in France, they was to seize all members of the Knights Templar. They was to put them under arrest. Now, prior to this taking place, this happened, by the way, on Friday the 13th, 1307 AD. Now, prior to this taking place, you had their Grand Master, whose name is Jacques de Molay, right? It is multiple gold bullion with a fleet of, I believe, 15 or 18 ships into Paris. Prior to that, prior to them seizing the order. When they went to go seize him in the order, those fleet of ships and the gold bullion was gone, because it said that it leaked out what was going to happen. And you got people till this day that's searching for that gold bullion. Matter of fact, they made a movie about it. It's called National Treasure. National Treasure is based and rooted upon those fleet of ships which hoist up the flag that looks like this, which is a cross, that good of a draw, but it's a cross. It said that ship is here in the Americas somewhere, or that all that gold bullion is here in the Americas. I can run with that too. You watch the movie National Treasure, they put all that information right out there. But what they did was they seized the order. And when they seized the order, they only did this in France. You know, they tried. A lot of brothers started torturing them, getting them to confess into worshiping Baphomet, worshiping a cat, things of that nature, you know, just so they could be in violation of Roman Catholic Inquisitional law. They tortured them, you know, just like the same way they do nowadays. When you go to Superior Court for a charge, they're like, all right, look here, we're going to give you 5 years if you plead guilty. But if you take this to trial and lose, then we're going to give you 10. Same thing. They use the same principles, the same Roman Catholic Inquisitional principles that they did then, they do now. Noble Drew Ali said what our forefathers were, we are today without a doubt of contradiction. What their forefathers were, they are today without a doubt of contradiction. Straight up and down. Now, when the order got seized in France, those who did flee France fled to Scotland. Now, Scotland at this time did not fall under the jurisdiction of the Pope, so they were safe there. So, you know, they continued to deal with the mother-son principle in Scotland, but they did it underground. This is how it became such a secret. They did it underground. They had to practice these things underground because the papacy, or the Roman Catholic Church, would come over there and, you know, do the same thing that they've been doing all over the globe. When they go to South America and run down on the indigenous Moors there. They go to Central America, run down on the indigenous Moors there, and then rewrite all of the history. When they came to North America, ran down on the indigenous Moors and rewrite all the history. They went to Canaan land, or Canada, run down on the indigenous people, the indigenous Moors, and rewrite all their history. They was worried about that, so they really went underground. This is what gave name, or gave way for the name Scottish Rites, Freemasonry. This is what produced Rosicrucians. This is what produced Knights of Columbus, Knights of Malta, Teutonic Knights. And the Teutonic Knights is what produced the Nazi Germany campaign. Right? And from that you get Ku Klux Klan, also from the Knights of Columbia. They're all one and the same European body of Freemasonry. Learning all of this science from the Moors. Keep in mind, they got this from Temple Mount, from the Moors. The Scottish Rites was erected, or, you know, York Rite. General European Freemasonry was erected. Initially, there was just 3 degrees. 3 degrees in the Royal Arch degree. The Royal Arch degree, by the way, you'll see Noble Drew Ali standing on the cover or in the inside of the Circle 7 Quran. You'll see him standing at 45, just like this. That's the Dugard for the Royal Arch. But in European Freemasonry, the Royal Arch is covered up. Now you'll notice Noble Drew Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, is not covering up the Royal Arch. The reason why is because he came here to reveal these secrets to you. He tells you that right in the beginning of the book. He said these secrets have been hidden by Muslims in India, Palestine, and Egypt for years. These are the Masons. Now, let's take a look. All right, now we know the history of Masonry. Right? We know where it comes from. It comes from First Crusade, European Freemasonry. First Crusade, by way of the Knights Temple and the Priory of Sion. Right? When they, after they went underground, this is when they came up with the name Freemason. This is where the European Freemasonry comes from. We know where that comes from now. Now let's get into what is actually taught in Freemasonry. You go through your first 3 degrees, right? Which is what they call Blue Lodge degrees. Master Mason, Fellow Craft, Entered Apprentice, correct? Apprentice, first degree. These are the first 3 degrees of Blue Lodge Freemasonry. Every degree has a do-guard. Every degree has a distress sign. Every degree has a grip. The do-guard for the entered apprentice is like this, right? The do-guard for the fellow craft is like this. The do-guard for the master mason is like this. Now, people go through these degrees and have no idea what any of that stuff means. All they know is, I can get a job in Utah if I need one. I can hit one of the brothers up. The brother will make sure I'm good and he'll give me a job in California if I so really want. They don't know what any of that stuff means. It's not even taught to them. They have to go through, let's just say Scottish Rite. You gotta go through 33 degrees of hoodwink. Then the light be revealed to you. Before you actually learn what any of that stuff means. All you know is how to throw a do-guard, throw a distress sign, give it a press, grips, sign something, token, etc. You know how to do all of that. So when you come upon somebody who's another Mason, he'll recognize who's a Mason. Now, I've come upon a lot of Masons, and I know what these things mean. Now, initially, I didn't know what, certain responses. Certain responses when somebody asks you something. Coming from the European words of Freemason, you might ask you something. It's called trying. They'll try you on a certain degree. They might try you on an apprentice to see if you are truly an entered apprentice. Even if you say you're a master mason, they might try you on an entered apprentice degree to see if you're truly a master mason. They might run you through all 3 of them. Who knows? But, initially I didn't know how to respond to people, but I still knew exactly what this meant. And a lot of them don't get that science until they attain the 33rd degree. When you go through the 33rd degree, this is when you enter or petition to enter the ancient Arabic order of the nobles of the mystic shrine, or Shriners. Now the Shriners, you'll notice, wear vests. Their vests will have a crescent moon and star with a sword above. Not too dissimilar than the scimitar, or it's just like the scimitar in the attic chamber of the signet. It says love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It's where they get the principle from. It's Islamic sword. You get what I'm saying? In other words, it's like this. I had a brother that wanted to buy a shirt. The shirt said, I self-law am master, which Islam, right? Now the brotherwism, he was under the European Order of Freemasonry. He's a master Mason. He's seen the symbols on there. Because each one of the letters had a symbol to represent it. The five signs of Islam. He's seen all the symbols on there. So he wanted to buy it just because he saw the symbols on there. And when I asked him again, like later on, because he called me and said, yeah, I'm still trying to get the shirt. I said, yeah, which one you wanted? You wanted the Islam shirt, right? And he hits me back and says, nah, I don't practice Islam. I ain't want the Islam shirt. I said, oh, you wanted the shirt with the symbols on it. He said, yeah. Like, all right. You don't realize that that's an acronym for Islam? And when you get to that 33rd degree, or that 32nd degree Prince Hall, and petition to come into that shrine, you wear that fez, you start greeting brothers, assalamu alaikum, and you saying you don't practice Islam? Masonry is Islam. Noble Drew Ali came to give us the highest degrees of masonry that we lost. This is why initially when you go into the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Science Temple of America, proclaim your nationality, get your nationality card, get your fez. They gotta go through a lot of degrees to wear one. You understand? This is what Islam is. This is the connection of Moors and Masons. When you get to high degrees of Freemasonry, after you go through 33 degrees of not knowing what you just went through, and then you enter that shrine, then you learn what the esoteric meaning is of all of them degrees that you went through. You learn what they really truly mean. This right here, spring. Summer. Fall. Oh, actually, pardon me. This is winter, fall, summer. With the Master Mason, when you die, that's symbolic to the solstice, the winter solstice. For those of you who don't know what the winter solstice is, that's December 21st, when the sun is at its lowest point, and it appears to be in the same degree for 3 days. When them 3 days are up, boom, then a whole nother sun is reborn again. Consequently, when do we celebrate Christmas, or the birth of Jesus, which is the sun? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Who is the Holy Ghost? They don't tell you who the Holy Ghost is. The Holy Ghost is the mother. These are the secrets of Freemasonry. And when you obtain the higher degrees of Masonry, these are the things you learn. You'll learn what your nationality is. You'll learn who the Moors are, who the Mohammedans are, who the indigenous people of America are, what the indigenous name of America is. You'll learn these things going through those high degrees if you reach your brother assalamu alaikum. But oh nah, I'm a Mason, I don't practice Islam. Yes you do. You just don't know it. You think you're dealing with a Christian science. But if you get into the reality of it, Christianity, Islam, and so-called Judaism are one and the same. There's no difference. These were political states. The elite of so-called Islam, right, would be the Sufis. Let's write this down. Let's get this straight. Sufis. The elite of Christianity would be Masons or Gnostics. The elite of Judaism would be Kabbalists. Now, do you think that a Sufi argues with a Kabbalist over who his God is, which my God is better than yours, and my God is right, my scriptures is right? Or you think a Kabbalist arguing with a Mason or a Gnostic? It says, oh, nah, this Jehovah or Yahweh, this, no. All three of these body politics deal with the same body of information. They all deal with mathematics. They don't deal with belief systems. Some of them give belief systems for control purposes to matter. They'll give the belief system of, Sunni Islam, Sufi. They'll give it out, although they deal with the same principle as him and him. They'll give out the belief system of Hebrew, although he still deals with Islam and Masonry. Masonry, Sufism, Kabbalism is all the same science, which is mathematics, the mother-son principle. This is all Masonry, this is all Islamic. Islam, for one, only means peace. Don't say we don't deal with Islam. The only reason we say that is because we don't know what it truly means. We think Islam is a bunch of Arab people with turbans on, running around suicide bombing and things like that. We think that's what Islam is. We think, oh, you a Muslim? Oh, nah, that's not what Islam is. These are people who adapted some of the teachings of Islam. Islam is the nature of peace, the nature of the universe, how the universe actually works. Point blank period. It's not a belief system. We see the Arabs practicing a belief system, and we think that's what Islam is, or that's what Muslim is. Muslim itself is only one of peace, a human being. Muslim, one of peace. Salam, assalamu alaikum, Islam. You Muslim? Yeah. Last I checked, look. Am I under the teachings of Sunni Islam? No. I'm under the teachings of the universe, the great God, Allah, which is actually Alet, feminine. When you get to the higher degrees of Masonry, you will learn these things. Noble Drew Ali came to give them to us initially because it's our birthright. It belongs to us. It's our science. It's not theirs. They see you with your fez on and in your garb and respect you a lot more than they will if they see you with your pants falling off your ass. And I'm not talking about just a regular European walking around. I'm talking about those under study. Those who are bound by open obligation not to tell you who you are. They'll see you like, wow, he woke up. Some of them see you and get mad when they see you with your guards on, because all this regalia, fez, dashiki, sash, jalabia, they wear all these things in secret. Apron, they wear that in secret. They wear that during their rituals. They don't wear that in public unless it's a Shriners parade. From what I understand, they haven't even did it this year. I don't know, I gotta ask Brother Abdullah about that. I think he told me what they didn't come out there really normally. I don't know, I forget. But they wear all your regalia in secret. Your fez, your kufis. All of these various different regalias that you will find in ancient stone all over the globe. And we wonder who the Moors are and who the Masons are. Know that the Masons, the European Masons, are the sons that we taught the science of the square and the compass. Is where they came to learn Masonry from initially. When Pythagoras got it, when Plato and Socrates got it, they had to come to the Grand Lodge of Luxor. And it's no coincidence that Washington, D.C. is laid out the same manner. And you wonder what Masonry is. You wonder what the connection of Moors and Masonry is. How is it connected? We are the founders of civilization. Know that. Not Europeans. We gave them science. They took it and reconstructed history approximately 200 years ago. That's a global reconstruction of history. And we're not just talking about here in the United States. We're talking about global. Here in the United States is where we got it worse at in regards to reconstructed history, because you go anywhere else, you can walk up on somebody and they know these things. You walk up on somebody here in so-called U.S., they lost. They automatically go into their media paradigm and start trying to argue with you over something they ain't never studied in their life. Go to Mexico. I just was there. Go down to Mexico and build with somebody down there on ancient history and see what answer you get. You're gonna get a nice answer. You're gonna get an answer that you wouldn't get from your average person up here. The rest of the world, well aware, although the rest of the world has been dumbed down, you still have a great majority of people who are well aware of these sciences all over the globe than they are here in the so-called U.S. Why? It's the North Gate. They need this portion of the world to be silenced. We get this portion of the globe back on track, they're in trouble. This is the root of civilization. We keep looking to the east. We keep looking towards Africa. Before there was an Egyptian civilization, you had the Babylonian civilization. Before that, we had the Sumerian civilization, which is where Iraq is at right now. Before that, you had the Atlantean and Lemurian civilization. It's the Atlantean and Lemurian civilization that established the Sumerian civilization. And the Sumerian civilization that established the Babylonian. And the Babylonian that established the Egyptian. And the Egyptian that established the Greeks. Lemuria and Atlantis, we're standing on right now. This is the root. Even after the Great Earthquake, we were already here. We got civilizations all up and down, from Alaska to Argentina. Structures that they don't even tell you nothing about. I'm glad that the Europeans start putting a lot of these things out there on shows like Ancient Aliens. Just gotta read between the lines when you watch it. And it's not really much to read between the lines, just equate aliens with Moors. Whenever they say aliens or extraterrestrials and that, just put more on that. Because they'll go into detail of all these megalithic structures all over the world, from Alaska to Argentina, in Europe, in Africa, Australia, and they'll show the connection between Australia, Africa, Europe, Central America, North America, South America. They'll show the connection, Asia, minor, that is. They'll show the connection between all of these ancient civilizations. They'll say, oh, we don't understand how they got the technology to do this. They had to have got it from some extraterrestrial beings. Yes, we are those extraterrestrial beings. We are alien to them. That's 100% correct. Europeans will tell you that. Since a lot of us don't like to listen to our Asiatic brothers, hear from the Europeans. Watch Ancient Aliens, any episode, and they'll get into a lot of this history as well. Now mind you, this is all history that us as Moors have been dealing with for a long time. And we are now in that age where certain bodies of information have to come out. We're in the Aquarius age, the age of information. So that means information is proficient right now. It's all over the internet. You can find, just the people find out how to fix a car on the internet. You couldn't do that 15 years ago. You couldn't go online and do it. As a matter of fact, we didn't have online access 15 years ago. Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. We had AOL back then. But I mean, now they got Google and YouTube, and you can get just about any body of information you need. It's the information thing. Things are leaking out. Things that have been kept a secret for hundreds of years. Things that Noble Ali came and told us about in 1913, and even before that. That was just the official date of the old Canaanite temple. He came and put us on all of these things. We fell off. Us and these temples fell off. those of us who have these temples who've been infiltrated by governmental officials, governmental agents, COINTELPRO operatives, fell off and dumbed down what Prophet Noble came to teach. This is why a lot of people don't even never like to get to the divine warning. He goes into these things in the divine warning. He tells us the truth about your nationality, right? The divine warning. The truth about the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. The truth about the 14th Amendment. He goes into that. These are things that all Moors and all people, all Moors that got fairs and temples and things like that are supposed to be going into. These are things that we're supposed to be going into, not just in your ADAP chamber. Certain degrees of information, yes, it's for the ADAP chamber, but we still have to let our people know who we are initially. They'll hide these basic 3 degrees in the ADAP chamber. Those are your inherent degrees. You're supposed to teach babies that. Teach your babies the science of the daggone solstice and the equinox. That's all it is. Teach your babies the basic principles of your chakra system. This is what Masonry is. This is a science that comes from the ancient Moors. And with that, I'm gonna close out. Did I cover everything? Yeah, I covered everything. I'll close out on that. Islam.